We're going to be talking about the importance of having a business plan for 2021, and we've got Andy and Sean with us from 360. Andy and Sean, want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hello everyone, I'm Andy Steele, I'm one of the directors at 360.
Hi everyone, I'm Sean Maloney, I'm one of the directors at 360.
So Sean, why is it so important to have a business plan in place?
It's really important, Chloe, particularly at this moment in time, to have a blueprint of for your business and where you're going and how you're going to get there. So it's a really good way of seeing if you're adequately funded or where the best places are for you to drive your resources to in this current climate. So really important in my opinion.
Thank you. Andy, does COVID make planning even more difficult at the moment?
I think it probably depends on what sector you're in. Obviously, some sectors have been more affected by COVID than others, some in a good way, but mostly in a detrimental way. So, for example, if you're in, hospitality, retail, leisure, travel, forecasting is really challenging at the moment. Forecasting's challenging at the best of times, but when you've also got to contend with lockdowns, local lockdowns, travel destinations coming off the safe travel list, really unpredictable cash flows, clearly it's going to be more difficult than it would be normally. But having said that, most businesses know what their costs are, particularly the fixed costs. So it isn't actually that difficult to work out what income you need to cover those costs. And if there is a shortfall, perhaps if you prepare a worst case scenario of income and there's a shortfall, are there cash reserves that you can dip into to fund that? Are there opportunities to borrow? And probably the answer to that at the moment is yes, thanks to CBILS, bounce back loans, etc. So it's very difficult, but not impossible.
Okay, thank you. Sean, what should be contained in a business plan?
Thanks, Chloe. Yeah, the main things really are really a lot financially dependent on where you are, what your level of sales are anticipated to be, particularly over a month. It's always really important to factor in seasonality into what you're doing in terms of if you've got any peaks and troughs of your sales, and also where your sales are coming from, what sales lines you've got, and then you need to bring in your margins on your particular products, and then you should have your normal fixed overheads, which should be really by and large fixed across the year. You also need to have your balance sheet assumptions, so which would be how quickly debtors pay, your customers pay you, how quickly you pay creditors. You also need to factor in any loan repayments in for any funding you've got or any prospective funding you've got. And also if you've got any deferred liabilities with HMRC, you also need to factor in and paying those over at least the next 12 months. It's critical for someone to pick up the plan is to understand your business and what drives your business, what are the key points and what assumptions, what makes your business tick, and what variations could there be out there that cause your business plan to alter or to be adapted.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, can I just add that, talking specifically about 2021, a lot of businesses have deferred their VAT liabilities, perhaps also corporation tax and pay as you earn. If they have taken out CBILS or bounce back loans, they're going to become repayable end of Q1, start of Q2 next year, perhaps. So looking at the cash flow in the first 6 months of 2021 is going to be crucial for any business that has had to seek help from HMRC or the funders as a result of COVID.
Okay, thank you. Andy, how often should a business plan be updated?
Well, we update ours every 3 months, which for most businesses, in my opinion, is probably enough. Although, if you are operating in one of the sectors I mentioned earlier, hospitality, etc., Possibly you're going to need to do it more often at the moment. You know, when you find out about impending lockdowns, etc., you're clearly going to have to adjust your forecasts on the back of information like that. But we do it every 3 months. We review the opportunities that there are the new opportunities, new income streams we can tap into. Are any of our products or services unprofitable? Are they a drain on cash? We look at our actual V budgets. Where have we outperformed? Where have we underperformed? Is there anything we need to tweak in order to get back on track? I really like the analogy of a sat nav. When you're about to go on a journey, you plug in your destination, start driving, and sometimes you have to speed up, sometimes you have to slow down in order to get there at the right time. I think a business plan is really a sat nav for a business owner. If you don't know where you're going and what you need to do in order to get there on time, you're never going to get there, are you? So that's an analogy that I really like and I can really relate to.
Okay.
You also need to reroute sometimes if you're found an obstacle in your way to get from point A to point B. Sometimes you need to take a deviation. Yeah, like Andy, having a business plan, it's all about making key decisions, and if you need to communicate those decisions on or you can find there's a gap in your business plan, you need to be telling people before it happens. You'll get more response and more assistance if you're prepared and you can flag up an issue rather than an issue flagging itself up.
Yeah, I mean, even when you're using a sat nav, you sometimes come up against a field or a really deep river, don't you? So you have to adjust accordingly. And I suppose right now businesses are encountering fields and deep rivers on a more regular basis.
Sean, is it best for a business owner to prepare the plan, or should they seek outside help?
Yeah, interesting question, Chloe. Generally, a lot of business owners should know the business inside out, but also work in conjunction with someone, an external person, is really important. Not only does it give like a second pair of eyes, it also brings certain skills that sometimes a business owner might not have. Clearly, us working with our clients closely is the happy marriage, really, in order to prepare the assumptions based on the knowledge of the business owner. So I would say, yeah, a business owner can do it, but to get more value, it needs to be a happy marriage, in my opinion, between the business owner and an external source.
Okay, thank you. Andy, is there any funding available to help with this?
There's quite a lot of funding about at the moment, Chloe, particularly if you're in a LEP area, local enterprise partnership, which fortunately in Hull and Humber we are. So the LEP are very keen to help businesses that are looking at strategy, looking at financial systems, looking at putting business plans together, perhaps for the first time. They're very keen to help businesses that need help to save or create jobs. And they're also, there's also funding available for businesses that, at the risk of using a buzzword, need to pivot. There's all sorts of considerations taken into place when you take a sudden drastic change in direction. Well, there's plenty of funding out there to help businesses that want to invest in quality advice in these particular areas. And we've done that for many of our clients. So, we know the process for applying for the funds, etc. So we can help people tap into the numerous pots that are around at the moment. Don't know how long they're going to be around, but so it's probably best to strike whilst the iron's hot.
Okay, thank you. Finally, Sean, if the financial projections show there is a funding gap, what should a business owner do?
Yeah, that's a good question, particularly in this current circumstances. There's a few things that you can do. Number one would be look to see if there's any further funding that you can access. Secondly, would be if you've got any assets that haven't got any borrowing against, can you utilise those to create some release some funds? Or is the things that you should be doing outside of funding, such as can you reduce your overheads? Is the products that's not necessarily selling that you should no longer deal with? Are you holding stock that you can, if you try and get rid of, even at cost, you can generate cash into the business? If you have got loans and you're going to find there's a gap, can you then talk to the lenders about payment holidays? Also, if there's any HMRC debts outstanding, again, can you talk to them about deferring payments? As I think I alluded to previously, anytime you find there's a funding gap, talking to someone early rather than waiting to the last minute is the key to any sort of successful solution to bridging that gap. So having a business plan in place and knowing your business plan and regular updating it and finding out what can go wrong is the key to trying to bridge that gap as quickly as possible.
Can I just to add a couple of points there, I suppose also, have you got money tied up in debtors that can be released, either by sort of tightening up on your credit control procedures, getting the level of debtors down, because that will translate into cash in the bank. Invoice finance might also be an option depending on what sector you're in, etc. So I think what we're saying, Sean, is there's often a way, isn't there? Sometimes you just need to dig a little bit deeper into the figures and find a solution that works for the business and is affordable. Correct.
Yeah. It's any time you're looking to generate any more funding, affordability will be one of the key points that any funder will look at anyway. So you need to have something that you can present to them as well on top of everything to show your credibility, which is again another reason why having a business plan in place is critical.
And Chloe, we'd be more than happy to sit down with any business owner and have a look at their accounts, have a look at the balance sheet, and just explore whether there are any solutions that they've possibly not spotted yet. Happy to do that for people that aren't clients of 360. We're happy to help in any way. And in terms of other ways that we're helping businesses at the moment, there's our WhatsApp groups, which we're more than happy to invite additional people to. We're posting regular updates on there about the government support that's available, but also sort of tips and advice on not just from us, but also from the other members of the community on ways of getting through the challenges that everybody's got at the moment. I also recommend signing up to our newsletter, taking a regular look on our blog, our social media. It's a real wealth of information and assistance at the moment, and it's all free. So plenty of ways people can find free, understandable advice. But if they are unsure about anything, please pick up the phone or send us an email.
Okay, thank you both. So this was just a brief overview of the importance of having a business plan. We're going into much more detail on our webinar on the 11th of November. So if anyone wants to get in touch to register for that, please just give us a call or drop us an email. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.